When we first met, I didn't even notice your smile and the way your eyes made me feel so complete, warm, secure. I wanted you more and more. Waited 2 years for you. When you came back, I thought we were made to be together.
When did you get married and why?
When did I get married? It's seriously a blur because I couldn't believe I was doing it. My mom wasn't aware, no one was aware. But I believe I was 19. I got married at the municipal building downtown Brooklyn. I don't remember the year. The day was anxiety, anxiousness, like I'm getting married. This is a big deal and it's a secret. No one was supposed to know for financial reasons. So I didn't have a white dress. And he was my first, so I felt like I should have had the white dress. Yeah, it was like a shotgun wedding without a reason for there to be a shotgun. There was no pregnancy involved, let's get married. It was just the decision. The decision was pretty hasty, based on us wanting to be together, but we had to do it under the household. The household being pretty religious. We couldn't just be boyfriend and girlfriend in his mother's house. So he was like, we need to get married.
I have to give a big shout out to my older peers or successors. Other were known as big homies, OGs, men and women. A lot of people think that since I'm a guy, only people that really schooled me, just men. No, women too. The simplest thing that they told me stuck with me, especially during high school, but even when I got older, even more, and I'm like, it made perfect sense. And then my man, J. Hot Dog Jones, he told it to me again, which also made me realize, well, what I'm doing is right. Simple thing. I only like girls that like me. I'm gonna say some things, hopefully I don't, seem disrespectful or, not disrespectful, but rude to some people, like fresh in the mouth, whatever. But no man should get married to a woman unless they have done all the playing and sexual activities that they dream about. Just don't get married, because you're putting a burden on the woman that you'll be married to. I mean, if we're talking about heterosexual men. If you're homosexual, that's a different story. I guess you do what you do.
What's the most important thing in a relationship to you?
Gosh. Started off with believing in each other. I swear. Because then you won't have those little insecurities that turn into big insecurities that evolve into trust issues. So believe in the relationship from the beginning. Both of you, not one person. I believe in this, and the next person's like, I don't want to really be with you.
I am not attracted to men who don't hold the door or walk on the outside. I'll remind you if I have to, but you need to just get that together. When you get on the train or the bus, they sit down and then stare at you like, oh, okay, shorty, or this girl looks pretty. Don't look at me. You sat down, you didn't give me a seat. If chivalry is dead, so is my libido. It's just that simple. For me as a person, I guess although I don't like my mom's patience, but I've learned some of it, and it's come to have a big influence on me as a person. I'm just seeing how patient she was with my dad, and in her other relationships. So I'm I'm not getting no younger because, like I said, I'm over 25 and under 40. So I'd like to settle down, and that's always been my intention. Born and raised, you know, like I said, in Brooklyn, but going to church and the whole church movement, and, you know, sex in marriage and all this other stuff, and having children in wedlock and stuff. So that's really kind of like steeped into you as a child. So it's something that, you know, I'd like it to go further, but there's just certain things that a man has to do as a man for a woman to be a woman.
Don't pursue anything. Know that you are an energy first, having this human experience, and therefore you are also a magnet. If we're going to talk about marriage, and I guess we have to talk about like our ancestors and how marriage even came about. Like now I'm delving into a part of my ancestry where I'm learning that polygamy was introduced to literally to save the village, like to raise the village, and it was introduced not by men but by women. Why do you want a relationship? I think we have to start asking those questions first. And what is it about me that deserves, because it is a deserving union on both parts, you know. So if you're in one situation, you should finish that first and make sure that that bag is empty, therefore you can put the bag away, and prepare yourself for an evolved relationship, for the next relationship. So my advice would be to make sure that you're right with yourself, therefore you're not depending or putting it on someone else. Because if you're not happy with yourself, and you've heard that before, we've all heard it, there's no way you can be happy in a union with someone else. Maybe at first it may appear to be that way during the interview, you know, during the interview stage of your relationship, but as time goes on, that baggage is going to reveal itself. It gets heavy and it exposes itself, and then things don't work out. So make sure you're right with yourself first. Date yourself first, love yourself first, and then let the sprinkle on top allow it to come in, and be in a place of receiving.
Trisha Bland and Linnell Bland here, and we've been married for approximately 7 weeks. We met 20 years ago. 10 years old, growing up, Marlboro Projects, 1995, on a community cleanup project. I mean, I got married because I fell in love. You know, when I was younger, I planned out my entire wedding. I was gonna have a Disney wedding, mermaid dress, everything, the whole shebang. And when you actually become an adult and you meet that person, or you make that connection with somebody, those emotions that go through you, why not get married to that person and spend the rest of your life with that person?
Honestly, like I said, I knew she was the one when she, you know, mothered my child. If she was good enough to mother my child, she definitely was good enough for me to marry. So that's why I got married, honestly. Plus, you know, I was in love, so it's the right thing to do. And being raised with my moms, everybody got married. Even with my mom, she didn't have more than multiple maybe fathers. So I came from that kind of structure of whoever you lay in bed with, 9 out of 10, if you have a child by that woman, if you're not married, you're gonna get married to that person. So it was embedded in my family. I saw it growing up, so I kind of knew what angle I was gonna take. Like I said, there's no other people in my family with multiple, you know, different fathers or different mothers to their child, per se, so nothing's wrong with it, but just didn't see that in my household, so I kind of picture myself doing this. I don't want multiple baby mothers as well, so I knew I was taking this route, for sure, because I knew I wanted a large family as well, and I wanted all my kids by one mother.
As the Bible says, for richer or for poorer, so relying, as long as you're not a burden. Some men want to be the breadwinners and want their wives to just stay home and have the kids. It really depends on the situation that needs to be talked about beforehand. So some wives make a shitload of money and the husband is staying at home and taking care of the kids. And they're, what do they call it, a stay-at-home dad or whatever they call it. So it depends on the conversation that's being had. But as long as you're not a burden, or if your significant other, your partner, your husband, wife are saying, it would be so helpful if you could pick up an extra job for just like this year because we're trying to fix the roof, or we're trying to do this, or I want us to take a great trip to Hawaii, something like that, then you help out. You help out your partner. You don't say, well, I'm only in this just to like do X, Y, Z. We didn't talk. That's a problem.
Would you get married if you made twice as much as your spouse? Or 3 times or 4 times as much as your spouse?
I could say yes to that. There is way more important things than money. So, yeah.
Did you grow up in a 1-parent or 2-parent household?
I grew up in a 2-parent household-ish. He literally worked every job, and because he didn't have so much leeway, only jobs he had was working with the military and merchant mariners and getting money overseas. So he had to leave and stay overseas and on the boats just to get the money to send back home. So there's been times he was just gone, and I didn't understand that at first. As I got older, I was like, of course he probably has fun there, but that is a sacrifice for the greater good of your family. So my mom was there, but my mom she wasn't working doubles, she was working triples.
There's 3 things in a relationship that's important. I believe you said finances, communication, and sex.
When we first met, I didn't even notice your smile and the way your eyes made me feel so complete, warm, secure. I wanted you more and more. Waited 2 years for you. When you came back, I thought we were made to be together. Young